Reading through the Bible in 1 year, June 15th, Deuteronomy chapter 20, Psalms 107, or I guess Psalm 107, Isaiah 47, and Revelation chapter 17. When you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you, not if you see it, when you see it, do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, is with you. When you approach the battle, your priest shall come near and speak to the people. He shall say to them, "Hear, O Israel, you are approaching the battle against your enemies today. Do not be faint-hearted. Do not be afraid or panic or tremble before them, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you, to fight for you against your enemies and to save you." The officers also shall speak to the people, saying, "Who is the man who has built a new house and has not dedicated it? Let him depart and return to his house. Otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man would dedicate his house. Who is the man who has planted a vineyard and not begun to use its fruit? Well, let him depart and return to his house. Otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man would begin to use its fruit. And who is the man that is engaged to a woman and has not married her? Let him depart and return to his house. Otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man would marry her." Then the officer shall speak further to the people and say, "Who is the man that is afraid and faint-hearted? Let him return to his house, so that he might not make his brother's hearts melt like his heart." When the officers have finished speaking to the people, they shall appoint commanders of armies at the head of the people. When you approach a city to fight against it, you shall offer it terms of peace. If it agrees to make peace with you and opens to you, then all the people who are in it shall become your forced labor and shall serve you. However, if it does not make peace with you, but makes war against you, well, then you shall besiege it. When the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall strike all the men in it with the edge of the sword. Only the women and the children and the animals and all that is in that city, all its spoil, you shall take as booty for yourself. And you shall use the spoil of your enemies, which the Lord your God has given you. Thus you shall do to all the cities that are very far from you, which are not the cities of these nations nearby. Only the cities of these people that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, you shall not leave alive anything that breathes. You shall utterly destroy them. The Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, as the Lord your God has commanded you. Again, why is it different for these people? Because God has said that he's using them as his tool for vengeance upon them. He could use anything. He could rain down meteors from the sky. He could create a special kind of lion that comes through and just devours all of them. And then when its course is done, when it has killed all the people, then it just simply vanishes, if that's what he desires. But he has chosen to use his people for this reason. Why? Because it will utterly put fear into the hearts of all the people around. When they see that these people are shepherds and farmers, were able to overcome all of these kingdoms, not by their own might, but by the might of the God who represents them. That's the point. The reason why you have to kill all of these also is so that you may not do any of the detestable things that they have done for their gods, so that you would not sin against the Lord your God. He doesn't want them to learn from them. So leave none alive. When you besiege a city a long time to make war against it in order to capture it, you shall not destroy its trees by swinging an axe against them, for you may eat from them, and you shall not cut them down. For this is the tree of the field of a man. Why should it be besieged by you? Only the trees which you know are not fruit trees you shall destroy and cut down, that you may construct siege works against the city that is making war with you until it falls. Make sure that's all the notes here for you. There we go. Let's go on to Psalm 107. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his loving kindness is everlasting. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the adversary, and gathered from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. Just a quick aside here. I heard of a famous pastor named T.D. Jakes who did an entire sermon based on this verse. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Now, it's not the entire verse. It's part of the verse. But this is the focus of his entire thing. And his response was, let the redeemed of the Lord say, so? So when people come up and attack you, what do you say? You say, so? Who cares? I don't care about you. That was the point of it. But that's not what the so is saying, is it? Here the so says, oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. For his loving kindness is everlasting. He is the one who has redeemed them from the hand of the adversary and gathered from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. God is the one who takes care of his people. That is what the redeemed of the Lord should say. They shouldn't defiantly look at other human beings and say, I don't care about you. Just an aside. Every time I read this psalm, it still clicks in the back of my head. It drives me crazy. They wandered in the wilderness, in a desert region. They did not find a way to an inhabited city. They were hungry. They were thirsty. Their soul fainted within them. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them out of their distresses. He led them also by a straight way to go to an inhabited city. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness and for his wonders to the sons of men. For he has satisfied the thirsty soul, and the hungry soul he has filled with what is good. There were those who dwelt in darkness and in the shadow of death, prisoners in misery and chains, because they had rebelled against the words of God and spurned the counsel of the Most High. Therefore he humbled their heart with labor. They stumbled, and there was none to help. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. So these are people who were who were rebelling against God, who were not repenting. So God made their lives hard. And what happens to them? They cry out to the Lord in their trouble. And he saved them out of their distresses that he caused against them, which again, he can do because we're his property. He can do with us whatever he wants. But he saved them out of the distresses that he caused for them. But he did it for their ultimate good. So what they're going through right now is a very hard thing. But God has a plan for them for something better when they repent. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death, and broke their bonds apart. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness, and for his wonders to the sons of men. Let them also offer sacrifices of thanksgiving, and tell of his works with joyful singing. Those who go down to the sea in ships, who do business on the great waters, they have seen the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep. For he spoke and raised up a stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They rose up to the heavens, and they went down to the depths. Their soul melted away in their misery. They reeled and staggered like drunken men. They were at their wits' end. And they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distresses. Again, God has power over not just circumstance, but also over the weather and over the sea. He caused the storm to be still, so that the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad because they were quiet. So he guided them to their desired haven. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness and for his wonders to the sons of men. Let them extol him also in the congregation of the people and praise him at the seat of the elders. He changes rivers into a wilderness and springs of water into a thirsty ground, a fruitful land into a salt waste because of the wickedness of those who dwell in it. He changes a wilderness, conversely, into a pool of water and dry land into springs of water. And there he makes the hungry to dwell, so that they may establish an inhabited city, and sow fields and plant vineyards and gather a fruitful harvest. He also blesses them, and they multiply greatly. He does not let their cattle decrease. When they are diminished and bowed down through oppression and misery and sorrow, he pours contempt upon princes and makes them wander in a pathless waste. He sets the needy securely on high away from affliction and makes his families like a flock. The upright see it and are glad. Who are these upright? Those who are not after their own gain. These are ones who are seeking after God. They see God doing these things, and they aren't going, well, that's good for them, but it should be nice if I had those things. No, they don't care. Why? Because they're content with what they have, and they're glad that God is meeting the needs of other people just like he met their needs. But all unrighteousness shuts its mouth. Who is wise? Let him give heed to these things and consider the loving kindness of the Lord. Let's go on to Isaiah chapter 47. A lament for Babylon. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground without a throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For you shall no longer be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind meal. Remove your veil, strip off the skirt, uncover the leg and cross rivers. Your nakedness will be uncovered, your shame also will be exposed. I will take vengeance and not spare a man. Our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name. The Holy One of Israel. Sit silently and go into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you will no longer be called the queen of the kingdoms. I was angry with my people. I profaned my heritage and gave them into your hand, and you did not show them mercy. On the aged you made your yoke very heavy. Yet you said, I will be a queen forever. I'm not going to be like these people. These things you did not consider, nor remember the outcome of them. Now then, hear this, you sensual one, who dwells securely, who says in your heart, I am, and there is no other besides me. I will not sit as a widow, nor know the loss of children. That's what the daughters of Babylon, these queens and princesses were saying about themselves. But these two things will come upon you suddenly in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They will come upon you in full measure, in spite of your many sorceries, in spite of the great power of your spells. You felt secure in your wickedness and said, no one sees me. They don't see what I'm doing. They don't care. Your wisdom and your knowledge, they have deluded you. For you have said in your heart, I am, and there is no one besides me. But evil will come on you, which you will not know how to charm away. And disaster will fall upon you, for which you cannot atone, and destruction about which you do not know will come on you suddenly. Stand fast now in your spells, and in your many sorceries with which you have labored from your youth. Perhaps you will be able to profit. Perhaps you may cause trembling. You are wearied with your many counsels. Let now the astrologers, those who prophesy by the stars, those who predict by the new moons, stand up and save you from what will come upon you. Behold, they have become like stubble. Fire burns them. They cannot deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There will be no coal to warm by, nor a fire to sit before. So have those become to you with whom you have labored, who have trafficked with you from your youth. Each has wandered in his own way, and there is no one to save you. That's all the notes. Let's go on to Revelation chapter 17. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying, "Come here, and I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed acts of immorality. And those who dwell on the earth were made drunk by the wine of her immorality. And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet. These are the colors of royalty and the colors of wealth. And adorned with gold and precious stones and in pearls, having in her hand a gold cup full of abominations and of the unclean things of her immorality. And on her forehead a name was written, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman with the blood of the saints and with the blood of witnesses of Jesus. When I saw her, I wondered greatly. And the angel said to me, "Why do you wonder? Don't worry, I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that you saw was, and is not, and is about to come out of the abyss and go to destruction, and those who dwell on the earth, whose name have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. They will wonder when they see the beast, that he was and is not and will come. Here is the mind which has wisdom." You know what? Let me read the beast here, or read the information on the beast. I'm going to scroll a little bit more so you can see that. So the beast that was and is not and is to come. There we go. It had received a mortal wound, and yet came back to life. The prediction about that the beast was about to rise from the bottomless pit in 11:7 and go to destruction means that its present power to persecute Christians is inhibited, and that its future appearance in unprecedented violence will be short-lived. So that's what we see here. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and they are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must remain a little while. The beast which was and is not, is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7, and he goes to destruction. The 10 horns which you saw are the 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. These have one purpose, and they give their power and authority to the beast. Now, a quick note here on the 7 mountains and the 7 hills. Rome, which then had dominion over the kings of the earth, rests on 7 mountains or 7 hills. It's called the City of 7 Hills. In prophetic imagery, mountains symbolize the seat of power. We see this in Jeremiah 51:24 through 25, and in Daniel 2:35 and 44 through 45. The beast's 7 heads, symbolizing both mountains and kings, show its power over earth dwellers, whose names are not written in the book of life. Those are not the elect of God. Efforts to identify in history the 5 fallen kings or kingdoms, and the 6th current king and the 7th future king, who would reign briefly, and the eighth that belongs to the seven have yielded conflicting conclusions, and also confusion. Proposals include several Roman emperors, which I've heard before, several world empires, or simply numerical symbols standing for all the worldly kingdoms that culminate in the beast. Even if they cannot be identified specifically, these details send the message that although the dragon and the beast's final assault has not yet begun, their time is short, as seen in Revelation 12, chapter 12. For the beast goes to destruction. He knows his time is short. That's why he's attacking as much as he is. In the next section on the 10 horns, they symbolize 10 kings not yet in power and destined to reign merely for 1 hour under the beast's control. These 10 probably represent all of the earth kings, not an exact number of 10. Deceived and gathered by the dragon and the beast for a momentary, final, futile insurrection against the Lamb and an assault on his called and chosen and faithful followers, those of the elect. John will see the Lamb as the Word of God, Lord of lords and King of kings, even over these kings, riding into triumph over the beast and its conspirators. This comes up in 2 chapters. With some dispensationalists identifying these 10 horns with political entities, represented by the 10 toes of the image in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Daniel chapter 2, and the 10 horns on the 4th beast that Daniel saw rising from the sea. Back to verse 14. These will wage war against the Lamb, that is, Jesus and his followers, and the Lamb will overcome them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. Again, he has full authority over these kings. And those who are with him are the called and chosen and faithful. And he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw and the beast, these will hate the harlot and make her desolate and naked, and will eat her flesh and will burn her up with fire. Now, they may not actually physically eat her flesh, but what it is they're going to turn back. The same way that we kind of joke that liberals tend to eat their own. If you're not as beholden to the individual things that they're specifically beholden to, well, then you're obviously a hater of those people, and therefore they immediately attack you. Even if you are yourself a very liberal person, and you are beholden to a whole bunch of the things that they're beholden to, if you don't, if you aren't completely sold out to every one of their causes, they will turn around and eat you alive. In the same way, this woman that has been supporting them this whole time, they will turn and attack because it isn't enough for them. So that is why they will eat her flesh and burn her up with fire, because they're going to turn back and attack that which has been supporting them. For God has put it in their hearts to execute his purpose by having a common purpose, and by giving their kingdom to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. The woman who you saw is the great city, which reigns over the kings of the earth. And that's all the notes from there. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today, and we'll be back tomorrow. Behold the word of the Lord.